Mornings with Olivia. Weekdays on 3 TV.
Good evening. I'm political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged. And joining us tonight is Arizona Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick. Now, she has served 2 terms in the U.S. House, and this fall will race off against John McCain, likely for the U.S. Senate seat here. Now, let's start with that. If you do end up facing Mr. McCain, who still has to get through a primary challenge, I mean, why do you want to take him on right now? He's been in Congress for a long time in Arizona, very popular, 2008 Republican nominee for president.
Yeah, Dennis, you know my district's huge. It goes from the Utah border down to Cochise County. I'm out and about around the state all the time, just hearing to people's concerns. And what they're telling me is they want a real choice in this next election. They want to be able to actually choose maybe somebody different for the United States Senate. And we're talking about issues like veterans, jobs, and seniors.
Yeah, no, but leaving a pretty comfortable seat. I mean, you've been in that district, the congressional district, now for a long time. You did lose a couple of cycles ago, but you were voted back in, and it seems like why not just stay there?
Look, I have a record, a history of winning tough races. I've got a strong team. And we're just making sure that people are registered to vote and that they know they have a choice in November.
And do you think, again, some of the hardest criticisms against you have been focused on something you said you were very supportive, proud of supporting? We're talking about the Affordable Care Act. Now, obviously, there are a lot of different opinions about the success of the health care reform, but let's take a look at one ad that's now running against you.
Obamacare is failing Arizonans. First, a massive rate hike, more than twice the national average. Then, America's largest health insurer abandoned Arizona's failing Obamacare exchange. That's devastating, especially to rural counties. Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick bragged about her Obamacare vote, saying,
"It's also the one I'm most proud about."
Again, when you see that ad, I mean, it's saying that it is a devastating rural communities that you represent. What's your reaction?
My husband and I were in a restaurant down in the southern part of the state in a rural community, and a cowboy walked up to us. I didn't know him, but he came, he recognized me, and tears were welling up in his eyes, and he said, "Ann, thank you for your vote." He says, "My wife has cancer, and without your vote, she would be dead." And look, I've always said it's not perfect. We need to be working together to strengthen and especially to reduce the cost of prescription drugs.
Yeah, sure. And what's different now than it was a few years ago? Because in 2010, you did lose a close race largely because of your vote on the ACA.
Yeah, a lot of people now have coverage. And I run into people all the time who say, I didn't have insurance before. A professional couple, came up to me, and they have 3 children, and the woman said, "Please, please, keep the program." She said that my last baby was the only one I had and I could afford to have prenatal care. Now, so a lot of people are affected. And remember, it has permanent reauthorization for Indian Health Services. That's a big deal for our tribes.
Now, tell us, are there any problems in this bill that you would like to see addressed?
There are. We have to continue to focus on bringing down the cost of health care. The Cadillac tax needs to be repealed. But what I hear from people, their biggest concern is the rise in prescription drug costs. That has to be addressed.
Now, let's stick with health care here, and let's talk about what's been a really signature issue for John McCain. We're talking about the VA. Now, you've seen all the stories about that, about wait times and other problems over at the VA hospital. How would you propose going about fixing that system that seems to have been it's been problematic now for it seems like decades?
Well, I've been working on the VA system since I was first elected to Congress, and something has to be done. And look, this is about making sure that our veterans get timely care and high quality care. So if they want to see a doctor, they need to see a good doctor in a timely manner. And it's really about the VA looking outside their system and not doing things the same way they've done over and over again, but looking outside the system for good ideas about how to fix this.
Since we're bringing up the idea of ideas, what are some specifics about how you would deal with the VA hospital?
Well, one of the things we discovered is that their computer software system, their hardware still dates back to the 80s. Bringing that up to date, using technology, and a lot of our young vets, especially Iran and Afghanistan vets, they use technology, and so we're encouraging them to to bring their system up to speed, up to the 21st century.
Now, I asked Mr. McCain this when he was on the show. You know, he has been in office now for many years, and the VA is in trouble. And I asked him, and I'll ask you, don't you feel some responsibility for that? You have served 3 terms in Congress, not consecutively, but you've been in Congress now for 3 times, and it's still, we see problems here.
You know, one of the first hearings I had when I was first elected in 2008 was a joint hearing with the Senate, and a disabled veteran came up to me and he said, Representative, I just want you to remember that our veterans have already paid the price. Now you have to fight for them with all your might. And so I've continued to do that, but especially our rural and tribal veterans, they really have a tough time. So I've passed legislation, had it signed into law that makes things better, but we still have to get it right.
And again, anything that you would agree with on Mr. McCain on this issue? You just went out there with the choice card. Do you think that's a good idea? Would you do something differently?
Yeah, I just did a round of veterans round tables, hearing from them, and that came up. That issue really isn't working for them. I think we need to go back and look at that. So it's just not. It's not working. You know, I do a lot of veterans casework in my 7 offices here in Arizona, and we've got to fix this system. All
right, now, you know, one of your, I don't know, colleagues, I suppose, also political opponents, Martha McSally down south, has taken on a big issue. We're talking about the TSA and the long lines there. You've also been very familiar with some of the stories coming out around that. What would you like to do to deal with this issue moving forward?
Yeah, I'd like to see a system that works. I've witnessed those long lines. People are telling me, just yesterday told me they had to wait 2 hours in a security line, and something has to be done. But I think it's in cooperation with the airlines as well.
Some people have talked about privatizing the situation there and putting that into private hands. Is this something that you would support?
Look, I'm about solving the problem, and so I'm willing to look at whatever will work. Whatever it takes. Let's get together. Let's stop our bickering. Let's stop the partisanship. Let's come together and do something for the American people.
So you're open to the idea of looking at privatization?
I'll look at any solution that solves the problem. I may or may not support it, but I'm willing to look at it.
Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the politics of the whole thing here. You have been running, like you were mentioning right before the show, for it seems like about a year now, running for this seat since you officially announced and whatnot. Are you going to be able to keep up with Mr. McCain, who is really well known for raising a lot of money?
Well, we'll have the resources to fight hard, but it's really more about listening to Arizonans, putting Arizonans first. And look, I'll tell you, I'm in every corner of this state, and people are telling me, working families, that they really value education, but they're struggling to put their children through school. Hearing from a lot of seniors who are worried about whether they're going to have Medicare and Social Security. And of course, hearing from a lot of veterans who are concerned about the lack of care that they get, especially in the rural and the tribal areas.
And another big issue in this campaign is going to be, as it always is in Arizona, is going to be immigration. Where do you differ on Mr. McCain when it comes to this big issue?
I've been a long, consistent supporter of the DREAM Act, and he's gone back and forth on the DREAM Act. And look, we need to have comprehensive immigration reform that includes the DREAM Act. But you know, the other issue that I hear everywhere I go, Dennis, is jobs. We need more jobs in Arizona, and my work and my vision for Arizona is building that strong, diverse, stable economy throughout all of Arizona. And that includes comprehensive immigration reform and education.
And what does comprehensive immigration reform mean to you? Because some people, does that mean a path to citizenship, as some might say, amnesty? Please explain.
Yeah. You know, I'm on the Agriculture Committee, and, you know, that's a huge sector for us, and the Farm Bureau has a provision that allows farm workers, if they can show they're employed, to be able to have legal status. Well, they choose. Do they want to be a guest worker, or do they want citizenship?
And, so, again, what do you say to people who say that that is just amnesty if you're offering them a path to citizenship or a way to stay here permanently?
You know, that word means a lot to a lot of different people. But, you know, I will tell you that, you know, Arizona has a large Latino community, and they're very concerned about Donald Trump and what he said about immigration. And they're very concerned that John McCain continues to support Trump in spite of the fact that Trump insulted him, and John McCain's called him dangerous, called his supporters crazy. but he still supports them.
Well, let me ask you, too, real quick, and we don't have a whole lot of time, but do you think Donald Trump is actually going to help your campaign? A lot of people have talked about, Trump having big coattails that don't drag them up, but drags the party down with them. What's your take on that?
Well, I've never had coattails in any of my races, and so I'm focused on what I can do, and that is meeting people, listening to their concerns, making sure they're registered to vote, and making sure they can vote.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
We're
you,
going to have to take a quick break. We'll see you again sometime soon, I'm sure. And we have lots more to coming up here on Politics Unplugged. Up next, talk of a property tax increase for Phoenix residents, but not everyone thinks this is the right answer. Just ahead, balancing the needs, wants, and the city budget. Plus, Donald Trump trash talks the Republican governor of New Mexico, then turns his sights on Bernie Sanders. It's just another week of Trump on the trail.
The link between stress and cholesterol.
The doctor was actually quite concerned about the stress level of my job.
The biggest change this woman made that might be a lifesaver for you.
Seeing those numbers come down has been a wonderful thing.
Thursday at 9 on 3TV. On the next Dr. Phil, he's stolen from friends and family
nearly $2 million
to help his Mexican mistress.
She's had brain cancer 7 times. You think maybe she's lied to you?
Monday at 3 on 3TV.
Hello, CenturyLink. How can I help you?
Hi, I just moved and I transferred my internet, but now it's really slow.
Sounds like you moved into one of our slow zones.
Is there anything that I can do? Hello?
You could switch to Cox.
I'm sorry?
You could switch to Cox.
Only Cox offers the same fast speeds everywhere. Get Cox high-speed internet starting at $19.99 a month.
The #1 luxury hotel in America cancels order for 4,000 luxury mattresses. At 10 cents on the dollar Monday, you get their brand new $2,000 queen size for $195. $2,200 kings, $295. Twins, $85. The mattress of America's #1 luxury hotel for less than one night stay. 10 cents on the dollar, plus free home delivery. 5 years, no interest, and free power adjustables. 12 hours Memorial Day at the dump.
The summer heat can be tough on older vehicles. Don't pour money into that old vehicle. T.O. says don't tune up, trade up. Prices slash on the entire inventory. Get top dollar for that old trade-in, running or not. And right now, get 90 days, no payments, and $99 down delivers. Trucksonly.com.
Think customize. American Furniture Warehouse now offers direct from Italy all-weather special order collections. These collections can be customized with a color that best suits your style. The Luca collection features a simple, timeless